Landmines and jellyfish, welcome back to Knives, I guess, and thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. But do me a favor and hit that like button or the terrorists win. And on a recent live stream we went in on, the Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight. I put a little bit too much mustard on that one. But let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I love you. So, first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We have got the aluminum AWT scales here. We got a spider hole. Let's flick the hole. Got a little over 3 inches of Maxamet steel, and we are on Spyderco's ball bearing lock. Okay. So this is one that I carried. I enjoyed. I definitely liked having it on me. The only thing that I don't like too much is the ball bearing lock. I would have preferred a standard axis lock. The ball bearing lock just does not feel right in my hand. Maybe if you got smaller hands, it's a little better, but I just did not enjoy the ball bearing lock all that much. So that ball bearing lock is my only gripe about this thing, though. Other than that, it's a solid knife. Now, as far as the pricing on that, I'll let you decide whether or not it's overpriced. I think this setup will run you between $350 and $400. I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me on it. But it's got the aftermarket AWT scales on it. It's got the Maxamet steel, which can get pricey. This was a gift from a friend or we wouldn't have it. All right, this is not the normal fare for the channel. We normally don't do stuff this high end. We're normally in the $50 and below range. But this got sent in because the friend that sent it in wanted to see me suffer through edge retention testing on the Maxamet steel. He's the same guy that sent the Rex 121 in for the same reason. You sick bastard. I love you. But this was definitely an interesting experience. So let's go out to the car hole real fast, and I'll show you the mountain of cardboard that we made with the factory edge. Now I got this secondhand with aftermarket scales on it, but I was told it was the factory edge, so that's what we're going with. But let's take a look at the mountain of cardboard that we made with this thing. Let's go out to the car hole now. All right, folks, welcome back to the car hole, as it were. And here we have the mountain of cardboard made by the Manix 2 Lightweight with the Maxamet steel. That stuff went nuts. We'll get into that on the table. But that's all the boxes it filled up. All right, it's normal to fill like 3 of those maybe on a factory edge for a lot of steels. This filled up 6 of them, and we only did the factory edge. Okay. So you saw that absolute mountain of cardboard, and of course you see how that cardboard's cut. Those panels are all cut into little bitty 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide strips. Like, it is a lot of cutting. It is a lot of cutting, my God. And it lines up with what we expected to see because, you know, like, I went online and did some research. Trying to figure a couple of things out about the steel, and according to my ability to Google, Maxamet is second place behind Rex 121 for overall edge retention and difficulty sharpening. It's also up there as far as being a brittle steel. It is definitely a city knife. It is not for hard use. You're buying this for the novelty of the Maxamet steel more than anything else. But, you know, that's definitely, like, it definitely went for a long time. Now, I wrote down the sequence of events that happened, so let's take a look at that. This was a lot. So, and I mean, I wrote it down. So we started off at a 185 on the electronic edge sharpness tester. I'll show you that in a little while here. We cut for an hour, and towards the center here, we pulled a 331. We went for another hour, and like I could feel the carbide starting to be exposed. The resistance was increasing. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the way the steel works is it's got large carbides built into the steel, and as you wear the steel away from the carbides, they get exposed, becoming micro serrations, which makes it feel sharp a lot longer than you would think. But at 2 hours up towards here, we pulled a 326, and then at the 3 hour mark, we pulled a 313 here and a 416 front center. At the 4 hour mark, we pulled a 486 here and a 423 front center. At the 5 hour mark, 419, 399, 366, right here in the middle area, right up here towards the front, we pulled a 441. At the 6 hour mark, we pulled a 423, a 421, and a 445 towards the center. Up here in the front center, we pulled a 416 and a 403. That was at the 6 hour mark. At the 7 hour mark, we finally saw up over 500 in the center. We saw a 513 and a 448 up here. At the 8-hour mark, we found a 556 towards the center and a 425 up here towards the front. Towards the back here, we pulled a 470 at the 9-hour mark, 526 over here and 508 up here. At the 10-hour mark, we pulled a 480 in the center and a 467 and a 519. So we stopped cutting because we were at 10 hours of nonstop cutting, and we got this on our last couple of cuts. Those carbides getting exposed also really jacked around the readings on the electronic edge sharpness tester because, of course, you're cutting with a microserrated edge. So a spot in between a couple of carbides is going to read really low. Getting right on top of a carbide is going to read higher. Like, it definitely made the readings real screwy. We can say it consistently held the 400s and 500s, and normally we're looking for a 600 on that tester for a completely devastated edge. If I was cutting really carefully and really taking my time with edge alignment on those cuts, we probably could have kept going for quite a bit longer. But at that point, I think we had kind of proven the point on this thing. Now, we sharpened this thing, and we sharpened her up to 600 grit, and we stopped. Normally, I like sharpening up to 3,000 grit and going down to 0.1 micron on the strops, going for a fully mirror-polished edge. But in this case, we went with the 600 grit because when we did the Rex 121, we did the Rex 121 with a similar carbide structure, and I took it up to 3,000 grit, and it came out just about duller than when I started. So I started again, and I sharpened up to, I think, 800 grit on that. And that gave us a really good number and a really good cut because that let the carbide settle into the steel so you had a much more smooth surface. And I mentioned the carbides because I've got a little microscope right here that was sent in by the same guy that sent this in so that I could take a look at my edges under 120x magnification. And I saw the carbides poking out. About halfway through the Cardboard Slayer experience, we broke it up over 3 live streams because 10 hours in one go. I used to be able to do that, but after I took a break for a couple months, my stamina is not what it used to be sitting there in that chair cutting up cardboard. If I was really determined, I could have done it in one session, but that wasn't happening. But, you know, it's like I've seen the carbide sticking out. But, I mean, we could have kept going for a lot longer. I stropped it down to 1 micron instead of 0.1 and let the carbides and the steel kind of smooth themselves out. Now, we still got this thing screaming sharp. Let's see. Paper. Like, that is a nice... That's a nice edge. That's a nice edge. When I ran this through the electronic sharpness tester that I'll show you guys here in just a second, we pulled a 130 on it. Now, the 130 is a very, very, very good number. But, of course, the electronic edge sharpness tester was kindly provided by you guys for your channel memberships, your super chat donations, what have you. So thank you for that. I'll always be grateful for the support. I know I say it every time, and I mean it every time. But the way this works, if you haven't seen one before, is it measures the number of grams of force it takes to cut through the wire on this calibrated test clip. The lower the number, the better. Words are still hard. Why do you do this? Why are you doing this to me? But, of course, it's not the most scientific thing on the planet. A lot of things can affect the reading, but it gives you a general ballpark idea where your edge is. So let's take a look. A 158. So we got a 158 on that reading, and as you move the blade back and forth a little bit, your numbers will change a little bit just because the sharpening is not going to be, especially in my case, the sharpening is not going to be like micron accurate down the entire length of the blade. And of course you got the carbide structure in there, so there's a lot that can affect it. But that 160 and the 130 that I pulled at the end of the live stream is still a really good number. I'm not mad at it. It will shave. She definitely shaving. I don't have a whole lot of hair to offer up to the shaving gods, so do with that what you will, but now I can feel cold air here that I didn't feel earlier. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of a nutty experience. That was a whole lot of cutting. That Maxamet is something else. I will say we don't have an apples-to-apples comparison with the Rex 121 because about halfway through the live stream on the Rex 121, the guy that gave it to us demanded that I cut glass with it before we finished the edge off. Ooh, excuse me. But before we finished the edge off, he had me cut glass with it, and it kind of skewed the test results, but that still went forever on top of cutting glass. So yeah, this definitely lines up with what I saw online. This lines up with what I saw on Google pretty well. The edge retention on this stuff is nuts. And like I said, I probably could have kept cutting if I was real careful with my edge alignment and took it real easy on that. But again, after 10 hours, we kind of proved our point. So, yeah, that was the overall Cardboard Slayer experience, and you know I love sharing with you what happened during Cardboard Slayer. This was definitely a wild ride, and it went about as long as we expected, maybe not quite as long, but again, could have probably pushed it out a bit farther if I really tried. So, I can't think of a lot else to add to this. I just wanted to share with you guys what happened here. That way, if you missed the live streams, you know what happened and you're up to date. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got live streams. We got regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let's say thank you to our friend for sending this in, or we definitely would not have it. Let me know what you thought about the performance of the Maxamet steel or anything else. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.